builds the future brick by brick. It rewires your habits, reshapes your confidence, and reclaims your control. The difference between average and exceptional? Often, it's what you do every day. In a few moments, I will teach how 1 hour a day can rebuild your habits, refocus your mind, and transform everything. 1 hour is not small, it is supreme. You tell yourself there is no time, but 1 hour? It slips away every single day, lost in gossip, waiting. Now consider this. What if that 1 hour could build the life you want instead of burying it beneath excuses? You think it's just an hour, but when repeated with intention, it becomes a force. 1 hour a day is 7 hours a week. That's 30 hours a month. That's 365 hours a year. Nearly 10 full-time working weeks a year. What could you do with that much time? The reason most people fail is not because they lack opportunity. It's because they do not harness their time. They spend it. You must invest it. When you devote 1 hour a day to your goal, you are not just doing an activity. You are becoming someone. You are training your mind to obey your vision, not your mood. Take, for instance, the story of an uneducated clerk who decided to use 1 hour every night to study law. In just a few years, he passed the bar and transformed his destiny. What changed? Not his past, his use of the present. Ask yourself, what are you doing with your extra hour? Are you wasting it on comfort or spending it on becoming? Because the life you want isn't found in a year. It's hidden in an hour. Use it and the world bends. Waste it and the world wins. Decide what you want that hour to build. Most people drift. They hope something great happens, but nothing happens unless something is planned. That 1 hour must have a target, not a wish, a decision. You cannot build a tower if you don't know what you're building. Without a clear destination, your hour will be consumed by noise. Great achievers are not always the smartest. They are simply focused. 1 hour of targeted learning, writing, creating, or planning will give you an edge that wandering minds cannot catch. But to do this, you must choose. What skill do you want? What result? What transformation? Do not try to chase 5 dreams in 1 hour. Pick one. Grow roots. Water them daily. In time, they will feed every area of your life. So I ask you, what dream have you abandoned because you thought it took too long? And what if it didn't? What if all it took was an hour a day and a promise you would keep it? Train your hour to discipline your mind. The battle is not in the clock, it is in the mind. The ticking hands of time are not your enemy. Your hesitations are, your fears, your distractions, your excuses. These are the forces that resist you. Time merely reveals the truth. Whether you command your will or your will is being commanded by something weaker within. The greatest war you will ever fight is not with time, but with self. And it is a battle waged every single day, often in the silence of 1 single hour. Discipline is not a gift that some are born with and others are not. It is a muscle, one that you must tear and rebuild through repetition, through resistance, through choice. Every morning, when you choose to sit, to work, to write, to pray, to train, you are placing another brick in the fortress of your identity. You are becoming a man who does what must be done, not what he feels like doing. And that, my friend, is power. People chase motivation like it's fuel. They wait for it like a train that might show up if the weather is good. But motivation is fleeting. Discipline is forged. It is the steel that holds up your purpose when the winds of laziness and doubt blow hard against your soul. When you rely on motivation, you build on sand. When you rely on discipline, you build on rock. So use this hour not just to work on something, but to train something. Your consistency, your obedience to purpose, your rebellion against delay. This hour is not a small thing. It is the training ground for everything else. 1 hour of focus teaches the brain who is in charge. It reminds your body that you are the master and not the servant. I once knew a man who began each day not with coffee or conversation, but with a declaration. He would read aloud who he was becoming, not who he was, but who he had decided to be. And he did it with fire in his voice. Every day, 1 hour, the same words, over and over. He said it rewired his soul, that he used to feel like a leaf in the wind, tossed, uncertain, afraid. But now, he said, I am the wind. I decide the direction. 1 hour did that. 1 hour each morning, not to impress the world, but to reconstruct himself. You may think, what if I fail? What if I can't keep the rhythm? But I ask you, what if you never train yourself to try? What if you stay a prisoner of moods, a puppet to comfort, a servant to circumstance? There is no glory in ease. There is only regret in inaction. But there is power, deep, world-moving power in discipline. 1 hour a day is not about time management. It is about identity transformation. It is about telling your old self to sit down because a new self is being built. You don't need to win the whole war today. Just win 1 hour. Win it with intensity. Win it with commitment. Win it with the full belief that the man you were is not the man you are becoming. And then do it again tomorrow. That is how strength is born. So tomorrow, when the sun is just beginning to speak to the earth, and the world is still quiet, and no one is watching, show up, not for applause, not for outcome, but for mastery, for the inner victory, for the new you. Because when you win that first hour, the rest of the day listens. Protect the hour like a sacred ritual. You will be tempted to skip, to delay, to compromise. The resistance will not always shout. Sometimes it will whisper. Just 5 more minutes. Do it later. It doesn't matter today, but it does matter, especially today. Because this hour, the hour you dedicate to your growth, your craft, your purpose, must not be casual. It must be sacred. You wouldn't miss a doctor's appointment. You wouldn't cancel a job interview. You wouldn't ignore a call from destiny if you knew the number. So why treat your own future with any less respect? Why offer your dreams the leftover minutes instead of your prime focus? Create an altar around that hour, not one of superstition, but one of intention. Light no candles, burn no incense, but burn with purpose. Prepare your space, lay out your books, sharpen your tools, clear your desk, shut the door. Let the silence speak to you. Let the people around you know during this hour you are not to be disturbed, because in this hour you are building your future, brick by invisible brick. I once heard of a man who turned his walk-in closet into a study, a small windowless room barely large enough for a desk. And every night, for 1 hour, he disappeared. No interruptions, just thought, learning, and writing. For 10 years, he kept this rhythm. 10 years of solitude, of sacred effort. And when he emerged, he did not just have knowledge, he had clarity. He had influence. He had wealth. The closet, small as it was, became his cathedral. What about you? Where is your cathedral? Where is the one space you protect without apology? The 1 hour you guard like treasure? Because if you do not create such a space, the world will take it from you. Not maliciously, but casually. A message here, a conversation there, a little entertainment, a little distraction. And before you know it, the hour meant to change your life is buried under the rubble of convenience. You must be fierce in your protection of this hour. Build boundaries around it. Defend it from the intrusions of lesser things. This is not just time on a clock. It is a sacred contract between who you are and who you could be. And if you violate it, you are not just losing time. You are betraying your own potential. Too many men wait for perfect conditions. They wait for a quiet house, a good mood, a clear schedule. But greatness is not born from convenience. It is born from commitment. It is born from the man who says, even though I'm tired, I show up. Even though the world is noisy, I listen to my purpose. Even though it would be easier to postpone, I honor my vow. The difference between the ordinary and the extraordinary is not talent. It is respect. Respect for time. Respect for growth. Respect for the process. And when you give this hour your full honor, it returns the favor by transforming your life. You may not see the results today or tomorrow, but that hour, practiced daily, becomes your teacher, your trainer, your sculptor. It refines your character, deepens your thinking, strengthens your will. It builds a man who does not flinch when difficulty comes, a man who is rooted in purpose, This is how empires are built, not in noise, not in chaos, but in quiet, consistent moments of private discipline. A kingdom is not lost in a single day, and it is not built in one either, but brick by brick, hour by hour. The man who respects his time raises a structure that the storms of life cannot shake. So tomorrow, when the voice of temptation comes, and it will, remember your vow. Remember your cathedral. Close the door, silence the world, and say, "This hour belongs to my future. I will not trade it for anything less." Because this hour is not just a block on a calendar. It is a line drawn in the sand, a line between who you are and who you were meant to be. Honor it and watch everything change. Stack the power of compounding effort. 1 hour may not look like much in a single day. It slips by unnoticed. You waste it in traffic, in idle chatter, in waiting rooms, or lost in thought. But what if you claimed that hour every single day? Over weeks, that hour becomes a mountain, a fortress, a legacy. It is the quiet, invincible power of compound effort. The force that turns invisible drops into oceans. Every repetition matters. Every decision builds on the last. 1 page written, 1 chapter read, 1 skill practiced. It may seem forgettable today, but tomorrow's power is hidden in today's pattern. Greatness is not loud, it's not dramatic, it is silent, invisible consistency. The man who studies for 1 hour a day does not become a genius overnight, but in a year, his mind is sharper than swords, his wisdom outpaces luck, because knowledge, once earned, does not expire, and skill, once developed, does not vanish. Consider the bricklayer. He stands before an empty plot with a single brick in hand. 1 brick is laughable, meaningless, but he lays it anyway, then returns the next day, then the next. Precision and care, every time. Days pass, then months, until one morning, without fanfare, he stands before a wall, then a house, then a fortress. That's how mastery is built, brick by brick, hour by hour. Your 1 hour is your brick. It is not about intensity, it is about identity. Who are you becoming through repetition? Because success is not an event, it is not a lucky break, it is the compounded proof of who you are. A person who returns daily, a person who does the work no one claps for, a person who builds in silence. So ask yourself, what are you compounding today? Are you stacking distractions? Are you reinforcing doubt? Or are you building discipline? Are you layering skill upon skill, day upon day, until your character becomes unshakable? Because the world is not changed by what you do once. It is changed by what you keep doing. The hour you waste today might not hurt, but 10 wasted hours, 50, 100, that's a life slipping by. But the reverse is just as true. 10 focused hours, 50 refined ones, 100, that's a life rebuilt. Hour by hour. If you can command 1 hour, you can command your life. 1 hour of purpose a day is enough to outpace those who move in bursts and collapse. 1 hour of calm execution is more powerful than a week of chaos. Control the hour, and you control the narrative, because your life is not the sum of your intentions, it is the sum of your repetitions. So take the hour, make it sacred. Guard it like a king guards his crown. No excuses, no distractions. 1 page, 1 workout, 1 idea. Over time, these fragments become your legacy. The question is not whether 1 hour matters. The question is, how long will you keep pretending it doesn't? Turn your hour into a laboratory of growth. Some men wait for change to find them. They sit in stillness, hoping that one day life will bend in their favor. But the wise do not wait. The wise create change by design, not delay. They understand that 1 sacred hour a day can reshape a lifetime, not through magic, but through method. That hour becomes a private laboratory, a sacred forge, a hidden workshop where future selves are molded, tested, and strengthened. This hour is not for show. It's not posted, praised, or rewarded. It is quiet. It is yours. It is where you get to stumble in secret, to fail without fear, to test wild ideas without judgment. It is where the next version of you begins to stir, a place untouched by noise, unspoiled by opinion, a sanctuary of growth. The world will not hand you excellence. It will not drop brilliance on your lap. It does not owe you transformation. Excellence must be forged, forged in solitude, in sweat, in silence. You must carve out the time where no one watches and make something out of it. That 1 hour, protected and repeated, becomes the cradle of innovation. It is where dreams are sharpened into plans and where plans begin their long march toward reality. 1 hour a day. That is all it took for a school teacher to become one of the most powerful voices of the 20th century. Each evening, James Baldwin returned from teaching and sat to write. No fame, no deal, just a fire within. He practiced in private until the world could no longer look away. His hour built a voice that would echo across generations. This is not just about art, it is about life. That hour might be your writing desk, your sketch pad, your journal, your lab, your gym, or your prayer. What matters is not the form, it is the commitment, the dedication to step outside the routine and into reinvention. Day by day, hour by hour, the future is built. Ask yourself, are you merely repeating the same days, or are you evolving? Are you running laps inside your comfort zone, or are you venturing, exploring, risking in a space reserved for your future self to breathe? Because you cannot become someone new unless you give yourself the space to try. You must build an arena where the stakes are low but the growth is high, where you can fall and rise again, not for the applause but for the progress. That space is the hour you dedicate to transformation. Time is not what we lack. What we often lack is intention. 1 hour spent with fierce intention can outweigh 10 hours of unconscious repetition. It is not the quantity of time that changes you. It is the quality of attention you bring to it. Honor that hour. Defend it. Make it your own, because the future does not arrive fully formed. It is rehearsed in the quiet, in the dark, when no one sees. That 1 hour, it's your rehearsal, your refuge, your revolution. And if you keep returning to it day after day, it will become the hour that rewrites your destiny. Use the hour to align with your higher self each day. The world offers you 100 versions of who to be. Loud voices, tempting shortcuts, urgent distractions, all trying to shape your identity for you. But only one version matters, the one you deliberately choose. That is your true self. And choosing it requires time, intention, silence. That is what the sacred hour is for. Not just action, but alignment. It is the hour you step away from the noise, not to get more done, but to remember who you are becoming. A quiet recalibration, a sharpening of the compass. 1 hour to pull your thoughts, your choices, your emotions back into sync with the man you know you must become. Because when you fail to align, you drift. You respond to life instead of directing it. But when you align, you don't react, you lead. This hour can take many forms: a journal, a walk, a quiet corner with your thoughts. What matters is not how you do it, but that you do it with honesty, not as performance, but as preparation. When you reflect deeply on your values, your goals, your standards, your conscience becomes sharper, your path becomes clearer. The fog of confusion lifts, and in its place stands direction. I once met a man who, before every sunrise, sat in silence with a single question: what must I do today to deserve tomorrow? Not what he wanted, but what he owed. Not what the world expected, but what his soul demanded. That 1 hour made him a lion among sheep. He did not rise with the noise of others. He rose with the voice of purpose, and that voice became his power. We live in an age of momentum without meaning. Many wake up and run, but they don't know where. They chase validation, urgency, applause. But alignment, that requires stillness, discipline, reflection. The man who walks with intention does not need to prove himself. His actions are proof enough. Ask yourself, are your daily choices guided by impulse or identity? Do you take time to become someone, or are you merely surviving the day? Because if you do not choose your identity, the world will assign you one, and it will not fit. It will feel hollow, directionless, unfulfilled. But when you spend that hour in honest communion with your higher self, you rewire your day before it begins. You do not chase meaning, You carry it. You become a vessel for what matters. And when the trials come, as they always do, you do not collapse. You stand, not because of the noise around you, but because of the clarity within you. The man who aligns daily cannot be stopped by opinion. He is not bent by fear. He is not broken by failure. Because he is not led by emotion, he is led by vision, by conscience, by purpose. So claim the hour. Make it sacred. Sit in silence. Write what matters. Ask the hard questions. Realign. Then rise, not as a reaction to the world, but as a response to your calling. Because when a man walks in alignment, even the storms begin to part before him. Excuses are clever. They disguise themselves as wisdom. They sound like reason. They say, "You've had a long day," or "It's better to wait until you're ready," or the most dangerous lie of all, "You'll start tomorrow." But tomorrow is not a day. It is a trap dressed as hope. And the only way to escape it is to carve out an hour so sacred, so unbreakable, that no excuse dares enter. This hour becomes your line in the sand, your non-negotiable. It is not for negotiation, nor for the weather to decide. You show up whether your energy is high or low, whether your thoughts are clear or cloudy. Because the ones who win are not the ones who feel ready, they are the ones who show up anyway. Dreams are everywhere, but doers are rare. And what separates the two? A sacred hour. Not a grand plan, not a perfect schedule, just one uncompromising hour where your actions speak louder than your emotions. A place where discipline replaces motivation and habit crushes hesitation. There once lived a young mason's apprentice. Each day he returned home bruised from work, covered in dust, aching from labor. But in a small room, lit only by candlelight, he kept an old desk. And each night, just for 1 hour, he wrote. He didn't know the rules of drama. He didn't study structure. He had no mentors, only a burning refusal to let excuses win. That boy became Tennessee Williams, and that 1 hour became his legacy. What about you? Have you paused a dream because the pace felt slow? Have you surrendered a goal because the mood wasn't right? What might still be possible if only you gave it one honest hour? Not a perfect hour, not an inspired one, just honest, just consistent. Because your mind grows stronger every time it overrides comfort. Each time you silence the voice that says, "Not today," you strengthen the one that says, "Now." And with repetition, the excuses grow weaker, they knock less often. Until, eventually, they stop knocking at all. That is the reward for your discipline. Freedom. The kind of freedom only earned 1 hour at a time. You may not control your circumstances, but you control this hour. You may not control outcomes, but you control effort. And over time, this hour becomes more than a routine. It becomes your rebellion against weakness, against delay, against every story you've told yourself about what you can't become. So make it sacred, make it simple. Show up even when you don't feel ready, especially then, because that's when it matters most. The hour when excuses are loud is the hour that shapes your future. That is the hour that rewrites your life. The difference between regret and greatness, often just 60 minutes. And those 60 minutes are waiting for you right now. Make the hour a place where faith grows. The world will gladly tell you what's realistic. It will hand you limits disguised as advice. It will shrink your dreams until they fit inside a box called reasonable. But faith was never meant to be reasonable. Faith isn't realistic. It is radical. It believes in what isn't yet. It sees the invisible, and it acts as if the future is already unfolding. That is why this hour must become sacred, not just for action, but for belief. A place where your faith is fed, not diminished. A sanctuary where doubt is silenced and vision is restored. Because the world will always demand proof before effort. But faith begins without evidence. Faith moves before results arrive. It says, even if I can't see it yet, I will still build. You don't need guarantees to begin. You don't need applause, permission, or perfect timing. You need one thing, belief. A belief that your labor is not in vain, that unseen progress is still progress, that even in silence something sacred is growing. You are not wasting time. You are watering a dream that is buried just beneath the surface. I remember a widow Her name was forgotten by history.